I'm asking, is Labour's school funding policy realistic? So Keir Starmer has released Labour's plans to shake up education funding with a new tax raid which removes a VAT exemption which UK private schools are covered by due to their charitable status, so basically removing the charitable status. Now, if elected next year, Labour believes the move could raise an extra £1.6 billion for education. And Keir Starmer himself has argued that it would pay for the most ambitious school improvement programme for a generation. But do you think perhaps his plans are literally the most ambitious plans and not realistic at all? What do you think? Are these suggestions by the Labour Party ridiculous? So for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, is Labour's school funding policy realistic? Let's see what my panel make of that. Joining me, broadcaster and columnist Lizzie Cundy, and also political commentator Sam Dowler. Sam Dowler. I'm going to start with you, Dowler Fowler. Did you go to private school?
I did.
Did you?
I did, yes. And
your mum and dad want their money back.
Well, I mean, and my dad. My dad was a bit of a Cockney geezer, and he even sent me to elocution lessons when I was very young. So I used to say, "Ellie, we still speak like this."
I used to speak like this as well.
I know. So, but do you know what? This is something that Michael Gove said back in 2017. He said it was a burning injustice, and that was obviously coming from the Tory party. So yes, I do think that it is possible. I think. Obviously, school fees, I know the school fees where I went were extortionate, and they can be. And if there's anything that can maybe close the gap between private schools and state schools, then surely they should at least try it. This is going to be a new government, and maybe they need to shake things up a bit. And I think this is one of the reasons, one of the ways they're going to go about it. And I think it's a great idea.
I've got to say, I think on Keir Starmer's report it would say could do better, and he certainly wouldn't do very well in maths, because he's saying that this could raise 1.6 billion, and experts are saying it's going to be far less than that. And what this is doing is stripping young people from opportunities, and I think it's really sad. We're going to have oversubscribed state schools, and this has got Jeremy Corbyn written all over it, and we know what happened to his leadership campaign. It was a shipwreck.
But what about Michael Gove, though? And also, like, it's things like there was I don't know if it was Michael Gove or Keir Starmer said that Winchester College has a rowing club, a rifle club, an extensive art collection. I went, my partner, he went to a state school, and he laughs when I tell him about my fencing lessons and stuff like that, and my sailing lessons, and he's like, that's ridiculous. And of course, actually,
let me tell you,
the parents are paying for that.
Yes, they pay for it.
I went to both. I went to a comprehensive school for 1 year. My grades slid. Then I went to a private school and my grades went back. Bottom line is, why should people who are doing well be pushed out for people who aren't doing as well? It doesn't make sense. It's a tax on aspiration. Private schools don't just provide just education. My old school provides a service where a car goes out and picks up all the old people, and takes them for lunch for free and stuff like that. Lots of people get scholarships. There's way more to it than that. It's not as simplistic as Keir Starmer's
pupils are skipping opportunities and add value to, they are going to add value to the economy and engineering, scientifically, and they're missing out on the opportunity. And now the state schools are going to be oversubscribed. And I tell you what Keir Starmer should be looking at, fundamentally, what goes on in the classroom. We have pupils identifying as a cat.
Exactly.
I mean, how about look at what
a woman is?
Well,
I mean, and that is why he cannot be our Prime Minister.
But he has talked about what's going on in the classroom. He talks about oracy, so speaking, which is annoying because I think he's trying to get away from the fact that this ludicrous policy.
Well, I mean, that's a joke. Can he not talk to Angela Rayner?
No.
And also, he talks like one of the Daleks from Doctor Who.
Perhaps he could work out what a woman is first.
And that's very personal, and he knows what a woman is. And
why didn't he say?
Nobody has identified. Nobody has identified as a cat.
Sam, why couldn't he answer the question? Why couldn't Keir Starmer answer the question? What is a woman? He couldn't answer the question.
Because at the time he was being trapped into. Everybody was asking the same question, and he just fumbled over what he said. Yeah, but you keep saying it every single time, and it hasn't happened since. It hasn't happened since then, and he just fell over his words. He knows what a woman is.
Over his words. He knows what a woman is. He wasn't prepared to say it because he wanted to sit on the fence, because he didn't want to cause offence to anyone at all, and that's not good enough for a leader, especially where women are concerned who will vote for him. Now, he's talking about oracy, or oracy, even I can't even say it. Oracy. He's talking about oracy. Well, why can't he orate that, what a woman is? He struggled with that.
Look, this is just a moot point because this was said such a long time ago, and obviously if somebody asked him that question now, he would have a different answer because of what happened the last time. Of course he would.
Well,
of course,
no, he's trying to please
of course,
let's
of course he would. But what we're talking about here is taking away the charity status of these private schools. So it's not even they're not taking away funds or anything like that. They're taking away the charity status so that it's about the 20% of VAT that they don't charge on the fees, and the fees are obviously extremely extortionate anyway.
Yeah, because otherwise they can claim the VAT back anyway, but it just seems a bit ridiculous.
It's only 70% of children who attend independent schools, so that would be a drop in the ocean. And can I just remind you of Keir Starmer, because he's got snobbery in reverse, who went to uni education. So, Sam, will the real Keir Starmer stand up, please?
Look,
please.
he's obviously the leader of the opposition. So what maybe he's trying to find a footing. He's trying to obviously he has flip-flop on certain few things, but then look at the current government we have at the moment who flip-flop, and they're a big old mess on a million things. Look at Liz Truss destroying the mortgage sector in a few short weeks.
No, that's not. I don't think that's fair to put that on Liz Truss. The raising of interest rates needed to happen. The Bank of England have made a mess of things. You cannot blame the mess of the Bank.
Keir Starmer should be talking fundamentally about the quality of teaching and what goes on in the classroom.
Absolutely. And if he's come up with an idea that might improve state schools and close that education gap, then all power to him. Let's at least let him try it.
Can I just say, we can't let somebody try something that's ham-fisted and ridiculous. First of all, because a lot of people are going to leave out of that state system, out of the private system. Now, imagine the parents are paying twice. Those parents won't be able to afford it. So then you might end up with kids with low grades. He's not doing anything to improve the standard of education in the schools that he's sending them to. So now you've got more kids failing, and you've got more burden on the education system. None of it adds up. He's not going to get the money he wants.
Yeah, but this is all conjecture, unless it's actually. Unless he tries to do it, then and then we'll see how it works out. Then
he's stripping pupils of opportunities. That's what he's doing.
In what way? How?
He's making them leave private schools.
He's not making them leave private schools.
The parents can't afford it.
Because the parents won't be able to afford it, Sam.
The majority of people for the school I went to, there were some super uber wealthy people, but the majority of people were like my parents, who worked really hard, hard to get enough money to send those, because they knew the value of a good education, as should the government, which is why there should be improving education across the board, rather than creaming off the top from people who are just scraping the barrel to try and afford to send their children to get a better education, because the state system is a failure.
Well, we don't necessarily know that it would be the case. We don't.
A lot of people have said that would be the case. My parents wouldn't have been able to afford it.
Well, I don't think probably my parents would have been able to afford it either.
So you wouldn't be here now.
But at the same time, wouldn't I be here? Or would I? I could have, because I mean, when I was at private school, I found myself, there was some other people in the class, many people in the class who were a lot cleverer than me. So I didn't try as hard.
No,
because it was less competition. Whereas when I was at the state school before that, I was nearly at the top, so I did try really hard. I mean, it is all, and what he's saying about creative subjects as well. I mean, these are.
We're going to end up with a load of.
But this is a Jeremy Corbyn policy. This is a Jeremy Corbyn.
It's a Michael Gove policy.
It's a Jeremy Corbyn. Good old Starmer. And he never has a policy.
But Michael Gove said it was unjust, and that was 6 years ago.
I think it is so unfair on those, and they're going to miss out on opportunities. This country will miss out.
I don't think that if you improve the system, you don't improve the system by making the system that's doing well, taking money from that, because then in the end what will happen is that system will go down. So instead of improving one system, you're going to take down two. I think any danger of the private schools coming down.
No, but they will. State schools are going to be oversubscribed.
Some private schools might close because they're not getting the funding because the parents won't be able to go. Then you've got more people going to the state schools. In actual fact, those parents are doing the government a favour by paying not only for the state education that they're not sending their children to, but also paying for private education. So it makes no sense now for Keir Starmer to put that up. I think it's politics of envy as far as
I think he's trying to grab the headlines, and let me tell you, he's estimating this will raise 1.6 billion. Absolutely not. Well, every expert is saying this is right.
But we're not economists, so we don't know if that's the case. But, however, obviously, you look at all the teacher strikes, etc. You can guarantee that they're not private school teachers out there on the front line doing because they get paid better.
Well, they don't need to, because listen, it's just like getting your private healthcare, or you wait for the National Health Service. If you're prepared to pay for it, you can get a better service, and that's
what's wrong with private schools?
Well, let's see what our viewers think of that. Oh, where's my Great British Voices? Their opportunity to be on the show and tell us what they think about the topics we're discussing. Where should we go to? I've got 4 of you. So let's go. Let's start. Who have I got? Oh, look at all those nice little faces. Let's start with Jonathan Jones, who's there in Cornwall. Jonathan.
Nice to see you, Nana.
Yeah,
I think we should get the politics out
Next
of
time,
it.
bring your GB News
Everyone
mug.
I speak to has got really low expectations of any political party when it comes to education. Everyone I speak to says, just let the teachers get on with their jobs, whether it's private, public, or whatever type of school. The number one thing is give teachers the scope to do the jobs that they've been trained to do.
Yeah, cool. Cheers. And next time, GB News mug. You've got one next time. Right, let's go to Brian Dugan. He's been told now. Sorry, Brian, what do you think?
Hi, Nana.
Hi.
I think, look, you used the phrase earlier about the state school system being a failure. Well, then we've got to address that if that's the case. And I think any way in which we're trying to address that, we can't just poo-poo it. We don't know the full economics of it. I don't know whether it will raise £1.7 billion or not, what he is suggesting, Keir Starmer. But what I do know is, in terms of I agree with you, you cannot remove that element of aspiration at any level. So at the level that you're speaking of, which I utterly agree with in terms of people who work really hard and want their children to advance themselves and have the opportunity, because that's what we all want. But equally, that should be open to all. And Michael Gove it was, not Keir Starmer, who used the phrase, the soft bigotry of low expectations. And I think we have to factor that in as well, Nana. So I agree, absolutely. Aspiration is sacrosanct, but it should be aspiration for all.
Right, let's go to Mike Donovan in Oxfordshire. Mike.
Yeah, hi, Nana. 1.7 billion represents about 2% of the current education budget. But I'm always a man, economy first, and I do believe my daughter's been at private school and at state school. I believe that if you actually tax private schools, you're going to increase the divide. It'll become, it will marginalise the middle classes or the middle group, and I think it won't be. I don't think it will be of great benefit. I think the issue for teachers is the pressures that they're under today. They're under enormous pressure. So I believe that, state schools should be made to be better and more efficient, and should be taken out of this the politicisation of education. There should be freedom of choice.
I agree. It's freedom of choice. I mean, how dare they take that away? Let's finally go to Lee Webb. He's there in Bedfordshire. Lee.
You know what? We've got quite a few private schools in Bedford, and a lot of them private schools, they do really good stuff within the community. They let their swimming pools out to the public, etc., to various clubs. We've got about 7% of the children, I believe, that are in private education. Now, that massively goes up to sixth form, which is around about 17 to 18% of children in private education. So a lot of them are on scholarships. We start taxing, they're going to lose their scholarships.
Well, exactly.
And so, therefore, the education is going to come down. And I think it's going to cost more to provide places for a lot of these private school kids that won't be able to afford to go to private school anymore.
You think he'd work that out, but he hasn't. He wants to do that when he's going to U-turn, obviously. Right, well, listen, thank you very much. Jonathan Jones in
He needs to go and do a math lesson.
in Solihull, Mike Donovan in Oxfordshire, and Lee Webb in Bedfordshire. Thank you very much.